JB, it's been a long journey for you to get here. I mean, I imagine you've been thinking about this moment for a long, long time. So what's going through your head right now?
Man, like you say, it's been a long moment. It's been 3 years of grind, struggling to get fights, trying to go fight all over the world. But being a South African and with the passport I hold, it's been really difficult to get visas to actually travel to go compete. So that's one of the main reasons I've been pretty inactive as a 24-year-old fighter. You know, I'm sitting with a 9-2 record. I would be liking to have like 20 fights already, but I'm really happy to be signed to the biggest promotion in the world, and hopefully I can get a run now where I get 3-4 fights in a year.
You mentioned, all the hurdles you had. So I wonder, after you were this close the first time around and then you have to really grind your way back, I mean, was there any point that you thought about giving up? I know you're still young, but to just say, there's so many problems, this is just not going to happen for me.
No, there was no point of giving up, you know. The type of person I am, if I start something, I go until the wheels fall off. I mean, that's the way I got my wife, that's the way I do my career, that's the way I train. If I put my mind on something, that's the something I do, and there's no other distractions other than that.
We'll talk about the finish in a moment. I just want to ask about kind of the fight as a whole. I mean, I thought, as Dana said, you looked fantastic. You had him in a lot of bad spots. I mean, were you shocked that you weren't able to get the finish before it happened?
You know, I think the problem I had is my coach, Coach Saif, great coach, best coach in the world, you know, but he kept saying to me, I don't want you to get too cold. I don't want you to get too cold. But the fight before me is heavyweights, and I'm like, hey, heavyweights, it happens like this. One guy goes to sleep, I'm up. So he told me I usually have a blanket around me and I stay warm, but I feel like I got a little bit too cold by the time I got called into the fight. So when I got there, I was like, I could feel my eyes felt a little bit lazy and I was cold. So when I got to him and we actually made contact and I had him on the floor, I was like, man, this guy is physical. Like, he's strong. And it took me a little bit to get going, but once I got my sequences flowing, like anything I do is in a sequence. I don't just go for one thing. One thing is a kind of a domino effect to the next thing. So I did catch him in a lot of things, but I feel like if I was more warm going into the fight, it would have been there like on the first one.
So coach was right, is what you're trying to say.
Coach is always right. The coach is never wrong.
Let's talk about the end of the fight. Certainly, it's not your job to call it off. You just had him in the guillotine and held it. But what can you tell us? It sounds like you heard maybe him gargle or snore a little bit. I mean, could you feel his body limp? I mean, what did you at least see, feel, hear from your point of view?
Like I just said to you, when me and him made contact in the fight, everything I went for, he kind of like muscled out and he was able to survive. He's really physical. But in that exact submission, when I had him, I didn't have much time left, but when I had him, I squeezed. It was on. He was goggling. The goggle went from a kind of like goggling voice to a snoring voice, and then there was no, like, his arm was in, but there was no tension or anything pushing into my arm. It was just limp. Like, he didn't do anything, and the snoring voice. And then when the ref grabbed him and shook him. Shook. I think maybe the ref woke him up. I don't know. I think the ref did.
Well, regardless, you're in the UFC now, so that's what matters. What's the ideal scenario for your debut? I mean, do you want to fight on a car with your wife? Do you want to have a date in mind? Do you have an opponent in mind? I mean, what makes sense for you?
Opponent-wise, I do not have anyone in mind. I mean, the division is pretty stacked. There's a lot of new guys that got signed throughout the Contender series. I'll fight whoever my coach wants me to fight. He's my manager. They speak with him. He speaks with me. We take any fight. And regards of fighting, my wife got injured, so she's out for the rest of the year. I'm healthy. God has blessed me. I've had an 11-week camp, no injuries, not sick once. Did 125 sessions since September till tonight. And, I mean, that's by the grace of God. How can I not have gotten tired, broken down, or injured? I've just been blessed. And, I mean, fighting on a card with my wife, that would be a perfect date night. You know, that's 2 paychecks for us. After we get to go eat all the donuts and pizza we want without feeling bad, either of us. But yeah, while she's out, I would like to be the breadwinner for my family. I would like to fight maybe one more time this year. I mean, I can fight the bigger guys at bantamweight, but I'm a real flyweight. I was arguing with my coach, but he told me that, hey, you a flyweight. I listened to him, and there's no way I'm gonna argue with him at all. So I would like to fight at flyweight. So maybe something can happen, and I can have a fight in December 19th, the last card of the year. I have some killer teammates on that card, and it would be an honor for me to train, prepare, and fight alongside them. I mean, they're the people that helped me get here today, so I would like to help them and myself get another win for our team.
Just one from me. Were you nervous about the finish and if that would affect Dana's opinion of you after the fight?
You know, I think the night played in my favor. There wasn't the most exciting fights, and like Dana said, in the short amount of time that the fight did last, I showed him a lot of different skills, a lot of different things, and that impressed him, you know. I'm not a boring fighter. I don't go in there to try just lay on a guy, but this time I had to kind of set things up to get where I wanted to be, and once the ref said stop, I was like, okay, I got the win, but I saw Dana get up, and Jacob, he was pretty upset, and I guess if that was a different situation and I was in that position, I would have been upset too. When I saw Dana walk away, I was like, man, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I got the win. I'm getting the win check, and if he didn't sign me tonight, I knew that I would have gotten another opportunity. But I know with what I delivered tonight, it was pretty entertaining.